They told you slavery was a sad chapter in history. They showed you ships, chains, cotton fields. Then they moved on. But what if I told you? The Atlantic slave trade was not just cruelty. It was one of the most sophisticated global business systems ever built. It connected 3 continents. It fueled the rise of Europe. It built the Americas. And it destabilized Africa in ways that still echo today. This was not chaos. This was organized, calculated, insured, financed, and protected by governments for over 400 years. Before the first slave ship crossed the Atlantic, Africa was not a continent waiting to be saved. It was a network of powerful civilizations. The Mali Empire controlled gold routes that Europe depended on. The Kingdom of Congo had diplomatic relations with Portugal. Cities like Timbuktu were centers of learning. Africa traded across the Sahara, the Indian Ocean, and within its own vast networks. Slavery did exist, but it was not race-based. Permanent, hereditary chattel slavery. What was coming would transform human bondage into something colder, more industrial, more permanent, more racial. In the 1400s, Portuguese ships sailed down West Africa's coast. They wanted gold, spices, trade routes, but sugar changed everything. Sugar plantations on Atlantic islands demanded brutal labor. Then the Americas were discovered. Indigenous populations collapsed under disease and violence. Plantations needed workers. Europe looked to Africa, and slowly a system began forming. Not overnight, but steadily, relentlessly. This is what school rarely explains. The Atlantic slave trade was corporate. Ships were funded by investors. Voyages were calculated for maximum profit. Captives were insured like property. If enslaved people died at sea, owners could file claims. Banks financed expeditions. Ports thrived on the traffic. Liverpool, Lisbon, Nantes, Bordeaux. Entire cities grew rich, not from random cruelty, but from structured commerce. Human beings became entries in accounting books. The system became known as the triangular trade. Europe sent guns, textiles, and alcohol to Africa. Captives were taken from African coasts. They endured the Middle Passage to the Americas. Plantation goods, sugar, cotton, tobacco returned to Europe. The triangle spun endlessly. Every point profited, except one. Here is where things become uncomfortable. Some African leaders participated in the trade. European weapons shifted power balances. Wars intensified. Captives became commodities. But the demand did not begin in Africa. The ships were European. The markets were European. The plantation system was European designed. The global network was European controlled. African involvement was real. But the engine driving the machine was external. And that engine never stopped demanding more. The Middle Passage was not just a journey. It was a floating prison. People were packed tightly below deck. Air was limited. Disease spread quickly. Some resisted. Some revolted. Some chose death over bondage. And still the ships kept coming. Because the numbers worked. Profit margins remained strong. Human suffering became a calculated risk. Sugar became white gold. Coffee became fashionable. Cotton fueled textile factories. Plantation wealth poured into Europe. Banks expanded. Insurance industries grew. The Industrial Revolution accelerated. Factories in Britain processed cotton picked by enslaved hands. Modern capitalism expanded on foundations built during slavery. This was not a side story. It was central. Slavery did not just extract labor. It engineered hierarchy. Race became a justification. Pseudoscience emerged to defend exploitation. An entire worldview developed to normalize ownership of human beings. This ideology did not disappear when slavery ended. It evolved, and its shadows remain visible today. Enslaved Africans resisted constantly. Ship revolts, plantation uprisings, sabotage, cultural preservation, maroon communities, and then Haiti. The Haitian Revolution shattered the myth that enslaved people would remain passive. It terrified slave-owning societies. It proved freedom could be seized. By the 1800s, abolition movements gained strength. Britain banned the trade in 1807. The United States followed in 1808. But illegal trade continued. And even after slavery ended, wealth accumulated during centuries of exploitation remained concentrated. The victims were freed. The system's architects were rarely punished. And the profits stayed in place. Schools often isolate slavery as a moral tragedy. They rarely connect it to modern banking wealth, urban European development, global inequality patterns, Africa's disrupted development, racial hierarchies embedded into law. The Atlantic slave trade did not end in the 19th century. Its economic and psychological architecture adapted. The Atlantic slave trade was not simply a crime of the past. It was a foundation. It helped build the modern world. Railways, factories, financial systems, universities, port cities, industrial expansion, all touched by it. And while chains were removed, structures remained. To understand today's inequalities, you must understand this machine. It was global. It was organized. It lasted centuries. And it was far more than a history lesson. It was a world-shaping system. This was not just slavery. It was an empire built on human bodies. And the world you live in today was shaped by it.